You're listening to Whispers of a Witch.
Hey there, ghouls and guys. It's your favorite witch, Jennifer Ann Scott, with Ramblings of a Witch. And today we have a very, very special guest. I have with me here today the star of Netflix's new show, The Boroughs, Nancy Daly. Hey, Nancy, say hi to my listeners.
Hi, listeners. I have to amend that description. I am definitely not the star.
I beg to differ.
Okay, I am one and very proud and honored to be one of this company of players for The Boroughs, which is a Netflix series that started streaming on Thursday, May 21st.
Now, listeners, if you haven't already watched the show, shame on you. I immediately binged the entire thing, but if you have not seen it, please turn off this podcast. Go spend the day watching it, because I fear there will be spoilers. But trust me, it'll be worth it. So for all of you that are dying to know more about the show, about the process of the show, and the amazing character, Mother, please continue listening. All right, Nancy, tell us how this came to be. How did you get involved with this project?
This actually, for me, it started in October of 2024.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Because they had, I believe they started filming with the main cast, which, talk about riches, masters of the craft. Gina Davis.
Amazing.
Alfred Molina, Bill Pullman, Dennis O'Hare, Alfred Woodard, Clark Peters. Those 6 people are the core series regulars of the cast. And then all these other people come in and are characters in the story of this first season. So they had, I believe they started filming just as I was asked to audition for the role of Mother. And what they did was they gave everybody that they were considering the same monologue. And it is a beautiful monologue from the movie Still Alice, which was brilliantly performed, of course, by Julianne Moore. And so we all had to do that monologue. And based on that monologue, they called back 4 of us to meet with the showrunners and the head of the makeup artist, and one of the casting directors. So it was just a Zoom meeting. And because at that point they'd explained that the character of Mother was going to be in head-to-toe prosthetics. It was going to be a very long process to get all of this on. And they had sent out a script so you had sort of an understanding of who she was. So I got to interview with them. And I think their greatest concern was they wanted to make sure, are you sure that you can handle it? And I said, you all, I'm an athlete. I'm a hiker. I'm out there hiking 4 to 5 miles every single day. I work out with weights. I do yoga. I'm in training. If this came through, I would even take what I'm already doing and multiply that even more. I have the endurance. And I also said, I'm kind of baffled that people would describe this project as, oh my God, you're going to suffer. It's going to be so onerous. And I'm thinking, but you're part of the team. You're creating this character with the makeup team together. I mean, as you're sitting in the chair, this character is coming to life through what they put on you and through your own body. So I said, the hardest thing would be to get me out of the chair. I mean, I'd be like, look at that.
Go home, Nancy. Go home. We're done.
No, please. I'm sure I can get another piece of rubber attached to some other part of my body. But I think it was the way that I approached it. And I discussed, they said it's going to take place in a retirement home. And I said, well, I lead teams around the country for the Walk to End Alzheimer's. I have a team called Actors and Artists Unite. I said, this is my world. I live this. I've been leading this team for, at that point, it was 14 years. And they were just, from what I understand, they were just enthralled by my willingness to be absolutely dedicated to the work and the process of creating her, but that I understood that world as well. So I went through, it was over a month of costume fittings, of trying on this and trying on that. And because she has fake legs and arms, and there's all this, it took about a month of putting all these pieces together. And then we had a makeup test for people from Netflix and from people from the production company. The people from Netflix were going to like zoom in from Albuquerque to see me and all my regalia. And we had the makeup team. It took over 5 hours. But
Oh my goodness. For the test or every time you shot?
for the test and for the first 2 weeks, because they were figuring out, there's all different kind of tricks and all different kind of methods, and so they were figuring out what worked best. And after about the first or second week, it was like, okay guys, you gotta compress it, because I ended up working, because it was 5 hours in the chair, and then they had me film, so I was working 18, 20-hour days, and they said,
Oh my goodness.
okay, part of Mother, I wore contact lenses, special contact lenses, so I couldn't really see. And
so those weren't special effects. Those were actual contacts that you were wearing, because you look wild.
They did. And then they glued one of my ears shut, so I couldn't really hear. But they also glued part of my mouth shut. So any day that I worked, I could not eat solid foods for as long as I was in that makeup stuff. So they mastered.
So you're talking like 18 hours a day where you could not consume solid food.
No, it was water, it was juice, It was coffee, it was smoothies. That was it for those hours, because I was...
Thank goodness for protein shakes.
Exactly. I remember that as the test, the man who created this character was there. And all of a sudden, something dawned on me, and I motioned him over and I whispered to him, "She used to be pretty." And he said, "Yes, she was. She was beautiful." Because I began to realize things about her, just sitting in the chair, watching her come to life. And I will say, yes, it's arduous, but I feel like now I'm cousins with Demi Moore, who did The Substance, and Colin O'Farrell, who did The Penguin, and they had the same having to sit in the chair for hours, and any other actor who has done this kind of work, this is what it entails. This is part of the world, and what an honor. She didn't have any actual lines.
Right. So explain, when you auditioned with that incredible monologue, did you already know at that point that she would not be speaking English? Or
no, I think I was somewhat aware, but it was like a gradual understanding. Because when I got to the set, it's hard to explain. It's because at that point, I kind of had lived in her body for hours and hours at a time. But when I got to the set, I had to create a language for her just from sound. But I knew her, so the sound would come out. I didn't have to plan it. I didn't have to rehearse it. I was just there doing the actual scene, and there it was. You can't really plan what you're going to sound like. It's in voiceover, that's a whole different world, because all you have is your voice. That's a whole different, concentration. That's a whole different level of awareness. With me, I was physically inhabiting her, so her voice came from what my body became by being encased in all that rubber and stuff.
Well, what's incredible is you're talking about how much rubber, how much prosthetics are covering you. And yet, somehow, even with all of that on you, you are such an emotional character. You evoke so much sympathy and emotion from the audience, even beneath all of that it's incredible to be so moved by something that you barely recognize as human under all of that. She is an alien creature, and yet all the sympathy and empathy in the world goes out to her when you see her and you hear the sound she makes. How did you reach that point to convey that to us with such clarity?
I think because if you look at the story of this show, and her story in particular, I think everybody can empathize with what she is going through. She is feeling tremendous loss and grief, and there are levels of rage of what she is being put through. She's being used for these people. There are some people who haven't seen all the way through, so I'm going to not give the ending of the... I'm going to try to...
It's okay. Remember, I gave the spoiler
that's right.
alert. It's okay. Go for it, Nancy. We want to hear.
I will speak generally, because in case somebody couldn't wait and they wanted to hear what I had to say. But I think all of us can empathize with that, where you feel like you're at the bidding of other people. You have to you're being controlled by other people in one way or another. They are using you for their own purposes, for their own agenda. We've all been there in some kind of situation or another, whether it be job or whether it be a relationship or within your family. All of us have had those moments where we have felt that way. All of us have felt tremendous loss and grief and rage. And so I was there in those circumstances and felt it. And fortunately for me, I was able to communicate it. But look who I was working with. I was working with, my first real scene was with Dennis O'Hare. It just happened because I was working with him. And then Alfred Molina. I swear, they took such great care of me. I have to give a shout out to my fellow actors, because there's a scene in the beginning of Mother's Journey where she collapses on the floor, and of course I'm on the floor, I'm covered in, I can't move. Dennis O'Hare reaches down, reaches up and lifts me up off the floor, and then Alfred and Dennis are wheeling me all over the place. And Alfred, he mentioned in an article, he felt very protective of me because I'm stuck in the chair, and he's like kept saying, no, this is too uneven, it's going to hurt her, you have to fix it. I mean,
in his lovely accent.
In his beautiful British accent. And the crew's like, yes. And they're scrambling around because, every once in a while the chair would get stuck and I would bounce. Oh, wow. And he's like holding on to me because first of all, he was afraid that I would tip out of the chair because I have all this stuff on. But he also, I think he realized how much weight I was carrying in this costume, and he was concerned for me that I would be hurt. And Jenna, this is so sweet. There's one scene where we have to enter the house, and it's hard for me to move with all this stuff. Jenna's like, "Oh, you can ride on my back." I'm like, "What? No." I'm little, but I have all this stuff. She goes, "Oh, it's fine." And all I'm thinking is, I will never work again. I am going to break Jenna Malone's back. I'm causing Alfred Molina stress, But she was fine with it. I think because she was so confident, we only needed maybe one or two takes of that scene because she's like, I got this. Like, I just trusted her, and she never slipped, never dropped me. They all took very, very good care of me. It's an incredible cast. I mean, these are the roles that you dream of. I have, once again, don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. I have an absolutely gorgeous scene with Alfred and Clark that will live in my heart forever, and all of them. And I did not get to have a scene with everybody, which, Seth and Alice, we were apart from each other. And I remember the first day that I met them on set, we all agreed, all three of us, that they were looking at me through a window. And I was adamant that if they can see me, even if it's not on camera, I want to be there. I want to be there. Even if the camera's on them, but if they're looking at me, whether the camera can see me or not, I don't care. I need to be where they know that I'm there for them. They did the same thing for me.
Oh, that is
incredible. They did the same thing for me. They're leads. And rather than go and rest, when the camera was on me and they knew that I was looking towards them, they made sure that they were there for me so that I would be looking I would see them. I'm like, oh my gosh. How
that is
generous!
Incredible.
I mean, they have so much to do. They have such huge roles in this series. But I'll never forget it. Alice and Seth, the first day. No, we're going to be here. They insisted we are going to be here for her.
Oh, what amazing actors!
No, because they're very, very dedicated. Everybody in our cast trained in the theater.
Oh, see, I always say I can tell actors who've come from the theater we're a different breed, Nancy.
No, it's that generosity, that understanding of ensemble. That's what happens when you train in the theater. Everybody is very present for everybody else, and I feel like it was euphoric to work with all these people. They're so present and so honest, so brutally raw and honest with their work. Their souls are bared in the storyline because they have their lives at stake. They have the lives of the people that they love at stake. And I think that's why this genre, I am now in love with it. People keep saying, "Oh, it's horror." I'm like, really? But possibly they're monsters. I think that's a little bit biased. I mean, just because Mother has amphibious hands does not mean. I mean, maybe she has a lot of water in her astrology chart.
Because her children are sucking the brains
that
of
doesn't
people.
necessarily
Does that really mean monster?
No,
I don't think
no.
so. I don't think so.
And it's so hard to keep the kids in timeout. I mean, sometimes, and they're teenagers, off they go. We can make light of it because I think it just, I think yes, a lot of what happens is really just horrifying to think about or to describe. But when you get to the core of why things like that are happening, in the storyline, it gets rooted in love, and you would do anything for somebody you would love. You would lay down your life for people that you love. And that happens many, many times in this show.
And I think, in all honesty, as the show shows you, the monsters and where the horror lies is not where you initially think it does.
Yeah, and we won't say it. We're not going to say it. Yeah. We're going to leave
it. No. Ready? Once again, I'm going to tell people spoilers. If you have not seen it and you don't want anything to be ruined, please stop, go and watch the show.
And then come
back.
And
for all of you that have watched it all, such as myself, let's get into those questions.
Okay.
So, as I said, I think the horror and the monsters, so to speak, in the show is really when it comes to how society deals with aging.
Yes.
And how society is notorious for forgetting about people when they reach a certain age.
Oh, yes.
And kind of putting them off to the side and feeling like they no longer have anything to contribute. And I think the scariest thing about the show is how accurately it depicts things like aging and dementia and how we deal with people going through those things. And I know, as you mentioned earlier, you lead a group in the Alzheimer's Walk, and that's something that is close and personal to you.
Exactly.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think that really aided you in the character that you created.
I lost my grandmother, my father's mother, to the effects of Alzheimer's in 1994. And then many years later, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in the fall of 2009. And the signs had been there. And she was finally diagnosed. So I lived in LA. My parents lived outside of Washington, D.C. But I just began coming home as often as possible. For the first year, she was just very gentle and confused and just kind of a little bit lost. And we would sit down and play games with her. We would have to move the pieces for her. I would have to help her get dressed. You know, my mom was an incredible chef, but we had to be on alert as she was cooking because she would leave like a plastic cutting board on a burner. We had to be very vigilant with her and go behind her and like turn down the heat. And we ate a lot of meals that were essentially ruined. I remember it was the summer of 2011, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking. She would pick up like a hairbrush and go, "Hello?" Because she remembered answering a phone, but she didn't know what a phone looked like anymore. She walked into the kitchen with a plate huddled against her chest and said, "It's time for church." And she mistook the plate for her purse. "We've got to go to church." And it was Saturday night. Like she remembered things like going to church, but not understanding that wasn't that time. And I did everything that I could to be her buffer. I remember as I was leaving, because I had to go to the airport, and she came up to me and she said, "Oh, you've been so wonderful and so sweet and so helpful. We're going to write to your parents and tell them how wonderful you are." And she didn't know me. And I remember I had to grin and bear it. I just grit my teeth. I had to bear it all the way to the... And then, oh no, wait, before I left, she said, "You're so pretty." So I had to sit there in the car with my brother, drove me to the airport. I had to get all the way through the check-in, through the, Dulles airport. And finally I found a corner and I just lost it because I had to wait for my mom to have Alzheimer's before she ever said to me, "You're pretty." But you know what? I'll take it. And a few months later, she was so far gone, she had to go into a facility. And the next time I saw her, was Christmas, and she was in a wheelchair at that point. She really couldn't articulate much. I remember I was for Christmas, and my dad and we rolled her into the chapel, and I was just kind of reciting what I remembered of a church service. And I leaned forward to make the sign of the cross on her head. She grabbed my hand and she said very clearly, "You're my little girl." But what she would never know was months earlier, in May of 2011, I had started what became a national team called Actors and Artists Unite. And it was my fellow union leaders in Actors Equity and SAG-AFTRA who rallied we had teams in Washington, D.C., in New York, in Los Angeles, and my friend Dave Corey said, can we start a team in Miami, because he had lost his dad. So the first 2 years, those were those 4 teams. And BroadwayWorld.com would publish articles about us. So we started getting comments like, I'm in Tennessee, can I join you? I'm in New Hampshire, can I join you? So by 2013, we became, I believe it was the first Friends and Family national team.
That's incredible, Nancy.
So for up until like 2025, there were some years we had 41 teams around the country. And so every September, October into November, every Saturday and Sunday, I was out there at the canyons at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, hiking, because I had to walk with my teams who were walking on the East Coast. That's what a captain does. You walk with your team. So that kept going, and then of course the pandemic hit, and then I think people get burnt out. For a lot of people, once their loved one had died, for them it was too painful to be out there. For me, my mom died in May of 2012. She died right before the Mother's Day race, the 5K race. And so I did that, and I got to the last mile, and for some reason I just thought, okay, I'm going to go full throttle. So I sprinted the rest of the race, and I looked up and I said, Mom, I did it. I finished full throttle. And in my head, I heard her say, I knew you would. So, but Jen, the real heartbreak of this is my mom died in 2012. And I had no idea that my dad would die from the same disease 7 years later.
This had to be so hard for you as an actor, because people always talk about pulling things from your own life, and you almost had too much to pull from. The scenes in the manor in the show must have really hit you hard.
Well, I think I felt as if I know all these stories in honor of all the people who have walked on my team, all the families that have come to support it, all the people everywhere that I get letters and phone calls and messages. I mean, that's part of why I walk, is that I it's called Actors and Artists Unite for a reason. So I walk in honor of my own family. I walk in honor of Bruce Willis and his family, of Joanne Woodward and her family, the families of Robin Williams, Gene Hackman. The list is too long, but I walk in honor of all of them, because I keep saying to my team, we walk now so that when we find a cure, then we dance.
I love this, Nancy.
And so when Ed Begley Jr. depicts this so masterfully in this show. I mean, I'm sure I was sobbing. I'm sure anybody who's watching it was sobbing.
Absolutely.
Because that confusion, that frustration, that rage, clutching at what you thought you knew. I understood it so well. I've lived with it. I took care of loved ones with it. It's brilliant. And there's another in the manor. You're in the courtyard, and there's a man sitting on a bench. And Alfred says, what are you doing? He says, I'm waiting for the bus. And anybody who's had a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia know that he's going to sit there on that bench every day for hours waiting for that same bus. But I feel that is what's so lovely, and I'm so glad that we're doing this show. There are so many stories like the ones that we depict in our show. There are so many people caring for loved ones. There are so many people who knows what it's like to look into the eyes of your loved one and they don't know you.
And I think one of the things depicted in the show that's so heartbreaking, that I think was the most horrifying part of the entire series, was one particular scene Once again, spoilers, so shut this off. But at one point, when they're talking about the residents in this retirement community, the villain
Yes.
says, "It's okay. We'll kill them off one by one. No one will care." And I teared up in that moment because all I could think about was the people who that does apply to and how horrible it is for all the families that that does not apply to. That is so much the general consensus in our society that people won't care, won't notice. And you have all these people in the manner that you have to ask, is that true? Will no one notice? Does no one care? How are we in a place in our society that anyone could even suggest that? And I think the beauty of the show is that it shows how incorrect that is.
Yes.
That everyone still does have something to give and contribute, and that they are all worthy of living their best life, however that life has to be led while dealing with these horrible conditions.
No, I agree. I agree because it is what I think a lot of people wrote articles about this, how sad it was during the pandemic when so many people were in retirement homes or assisted living, and they came to their last hours and they were calling out for their loved ones who could not be there with them. Sadly, there are some families where they just cannot bear to watch their loved one fade away into twilight. I would urge everyone to understand, they may not recognize you, your face, but they'll recognize the love. They'll remember the love, they'll remember the care. And as long as there are people like us who refuse to give up, who are willing to be there. I used to volunteer at the UVA, at the Veterans Hospital. And I would go in and talk to people, and they would say, "Oh, my family's come," and then one of the people who worked there would pull me aside and say, "The family hasn't been here for months."
Oh, how heartbreaking.
It is. It can be. But I think there's a lot of chaos in our world right now. There's a lot of questionable individuals. There's in everybody's life. You have people in your life or people that you're aware of that you're like, oh my God, I can't even begin to comprehend that point of view, thinking that way. But light is always stronger than the dark. And we have to remember that. So even though the villain, by the way, the actor who plays him is a wonderful man.
That's good to know because, oh my goodness, do you hate him in the show with a passion?
Exactly. And the lady who is an absolute sweetheart. They are wonderful people in real life. But unfortunately, there are people who just have given up on their own souls because they are so after what they think matters. And they let life and what other people go by the wayside because they are so focused on, I need that job, I need that money, I need this, I need that. And those are the ones, like, sorry, gang, you're going to die alone. And you'll wonder why, So I think what is so heartening is we have our posse of champions, these warriors who are willing to go and batter away at monsters and everything else under the sun to bring justice for the forgotten. They're a band of misfits, but by God, they're a force of nature.
Yes, they are.
It's so lovely to see. There's a couple that finds their way back to each other. There's a couple that you think that on paper you would think, how does this work? And
they're brilliant together.
They're brilliant together. They save the world together, and it's wonderful to see a family be reunited, and a daughter who's just heartbroken over thinking her father is lost and confused, and she just is just desperate to get her dad back, and her dad was always there, and he never left. And to see the reunion of that family that's glorious.
And the reunion of Mother's family.
Oh, yes.
Surrounded by her children. Tears again. This show brings so many tears. But that was absolutely incredible. Once again, amazing feat of the creators of the show to take such inhuman creatures.
And make them...
And fill you with such emotion and joy with your ending, being surrounded by your children. How did you feel about Mother's last scene? Did it bring you joy that she finally found peace?
Well, Jan, we don't know if that's her absolute final scene.
We don't, right? Oh,
We
this makes me so
don't.
happy
No.
because that brings us to Nancy. Come on. If you can give us hope in any way, the very last scene of the movie, something happens. With Sam when he's looking in the mirror.
I would not dare comment on that.
Okay.
I don't have any special knowledge about that moment.
But what about a second season? Do you have anything to give us hope?
I really have no idea. I'm not in that loop. But what I will say, and what I love about the writing of this show, is everything's a little bit up in the air. People that you think might be completely obliterated, are they really? So if you think this person is completely gone, maybe not. This is a different world, you all. You can bend and twist the light and the world and time and all that kind of stuff. So I can't even say that that I am off into the sky and the crystals, which, by the way, were quite lovely. I got to play with that. Oh, that was so funny. Okay, Naz. Okay, so we're gonna change this, but I'm playing with my crystals. No, sweetie, you have a break. But I'm playing with the crystals.
I tell you what, I yelled at the screen at one point when you were being wheeled through a carnival. You reached for some cotton candy. And I yelled out, "Let her have some cotton candy. Why are you wheeling her past it? Let her have that joy." I was very sad that Mother did not get her cotton candy.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that happened off scene. Of course, I couldn't eat it because of the glued mouth, but there we go. No, so I will say to anybody who's seen all eight episodes, I cannot say with 100% certainty that what you saw was the end of absolute penultimate end of anyone.
All right.
I cannot say that. We none of us know. I really, honestly, none of us have any clue.
All right, guys, you heard it here. She might be back. Let's keep our fingers crossed. And let's keep our fingers crossed the whole cast is back for season 2, because I binged the entire first season, and I am ready. I am already ready to hear what's going on with everyone. Are they traveling the world? Who's running the Boroughs? Where did that crazy real estate agent go? And where did Mother and her children go?
We don't know. We have no clue. So, but I want to say, Jen, thank you so much for this incredibly beautiful, insightful, and inspiring chat about, I mean, I love her dearly. It has been, we talked about how hard it was physically to do it, but I have to say it was my honor. It is the most amazing and challenging, but rewarding role I have ever played in my life, and I feel so lucky and so blessed.
Oh, thank you so much for being part of the podcast, Nancy.
Oh,
I love chatting with you about all of this. And you're such an accomplished actress. If y'all haven't seen her in anything else, she was amazing in The Tragedy of Macbeth. You might recognize her for her comedic skills in Bullet Train. But I think this part was absolutely incredible. Your whole life experience, everything that you put into that character shows on screen. You somehow managed to convey without words the emotions of a lifetime in a character that really spoke to me personally, and I think to anyone watching the show.
Well, if that happened, I'm grateful. If Mother touches people and makes, and just, that's the gift. That's a gift to me. That if people watch her and feel something and understand her, that's the joy and honor of doing this job.
Well, it was a joy and honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
I have just a little silly thing that we
Okay.
still got to do. I do it with all of my guests.
Okay.
So we'll have to change direction real quick.
Okay.
It's going to be fun. 3 questions I ask everyone.
Okay.
But we might change it up a little because of the content of the Boroughs. I usually say, what's your favorite scary movie? But maybe this should be more, what's your favorite alien movie?
Oh my gosh. I have to say Independence Day.
That's a good one.
Our Bill Pullman was in that movie.
Then that must have been really, really fun to get to work with him.
Yes, exactly, Mr. President. No, I'm one of those people. Well, of course, I loved E.T. How can you not?
The Boroughs had some little clever nods to that, so that was nice.
We did, but it's very. I feel like this is kind of funny because I never got soaked into that world before, but now these are my people. And I have to spend this summer like binging all the movies because I'm the one who goes, oh, but what about the dog? Is the dog okay? Never mind the people. Is the dog okay? This is me watching a horror film. So I have to dive in and get caught up because, I mean, now that I show that I can work in prosthetics, that's our girl.
Absolutely.
Bring it. Yes. So I would have to say, and I loved Independence Day. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal movie. I loved E.T., of course. I'm blanking because I really honestly haven't seen that many, but now I have
those
to
are 2 great ones, so I think you're good.
Okay, great. What's the next one?
All right, next one. I usually ask if people have ever had a supernatural experience, but once again, kind of leaning into the Boroughs. Have you ever seen a UFO? Have you ever seen something that's made you question the world?
I have not. I've had moments where people that I love who have passed have kind of... I will use this example. Dog lovers everywhere, you will love this story. I had a beautiful, wonderful golden yellow lab retriever named Bailey's, and she was my heart. We moved out here in 1997, and she was my world. We went hiking and running together, and of course she got older. And finally, in October of 2009, the last year, I had to carry her up and down the stairs because she just couldn't do it. And I remember that it was October 26th, and usually we could walk around the block, but it was just hard for her. And so that night, at like 1 o'clock, she just wanted to be outside for a little bit and stare at the stars. And for the first time in her entire life, she didn't eat. She turned away. She sort of lumbered into the living room and kind of collapsed on the floor. And I said, honey, is it today? And she put her head on my arm. So I called the vet and said, I want her with me. I'll bring her later in the afternoon. The neighbors came by to say goodbye to her. My neighbors helped me carry her into the car, and we went to the vet, and she went to sleep. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I was crying so hard. But all of a sudden, it was like a movie in my head. And there she was in a beautiful park. And she was sitting there grinning at me like she was younger, and she was between my grandfather and the love of my life so far, Bill. But all 3 had passed, and they were all grinning at me, and right in front of her are all these frisbees and tennis balls. And in my head, I heard her say, Mama, I made it. I'm here.
Oh, goodness, Nancy.
So when I think about other worlds, she's up there over the Rainbow Bridge.
And she let you know.
And she's with my grandfather and now hers and all her honorary uncles, and she's having a wonderful time. And I said to her, sweetie, I want you to be the first one I see when I get there. You're the first one I see. And she will be.
She will be.
So
Nancy, that's lovely.
I think a lot of us have had things like that happen, but that story with Bailey's just stays with me. She's up there.
She's excitedly waiting for you.
Exactly. She's going to have so much to tell me.
One last one. I usually ask, what creature would freak you out the most to learn it exists. But I think, once again, let's go with the Boroughs. How would you feel if we suddenly tomorrow discovered that, yes, there was a planet with aliens and, they were coming to visit us? Would you be excited? Would you be fearful? What would your reaction be to finding out that creatures like in the Boroughs actually existed and that they're here?
Well, I think having done this show, I would not be scared. I would not be wary. I would wonder, how do I communicate with them? Is it by thought? Is it by soul to soul? Is it heart to heart? Because you don't know if someone from another planet, if they have souls like we do, if they have hearts, or it's just a thought connection.
Oh, that's amazing. It really has changed your view and how you would react.
No, I think I would, because there's so many movies that depict aliens coming to, Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. and all sorts of aliens coming to Earth, and sometimes they're very destructive, and sometimes it's horrific, and people, they kill people and all this kind of stuff. But I think the movies that really are, I would dare say, the longer lasting are the ones where a connection is made between what's out there and who we are. And those are the ones that I think I would love to believe that if that were to happen, that would happen in real life. Because if Steven Spielberg, if you can envision that, and we know he's a visionary director, then you must be right. It's hard to I'm sure that maybe at some point he might say, no, I've been wrong a couple times. It's like, no, we're going to trust you, sir. We're going to trust you that that's how this is going to unfold. So I don't think I would be scared.
All right.
I would be curious, and I would be welcoming.
Okay.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
All right. Well, folks, that's all we have for you today. Once again, thank you so much for being part of this, Nancy.
Thank you, beautiful Jennifer and Scott.
You have been listening to Ramblings of a Witch. Please visit witchvoice.com for more witchy things. And if you would like to support this podcast, please visit patreon.com/whispers of a witch. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at The Witch Voice. Until next time, stay wicked.